I'm Laura, 34, and I never thought I'd suspect my boss of trying to sabotage me. But sitting at my desk in our sleek Seattle office, staring at the gourmet gift basket Ellen, my manager, had left for me, I felt a prickle of unease. The card read, "A little thank you for your hard work, Laura," in her loopy handwriting, but the chocolates inside had an odd, bitter aftertaste that made my throat tighten. Ellen's smile when she dropped it off hadn't reached her eyes. And after 2 years at Cascade Marketing, I'd learned to trust my gut. My colleague, Mark, had been gunning for my promotion to senior strategist, always taking credit for my ideas in meetings. Lately, Ellen had been unusually cozy with him, whispering in corners and praising his initiative. The basket sat on my desk, its cellophane glinting under the fluorescent lights. I'd been burned before. Last month, after eating cupcakes from a team appreciation event Ellen hosted, I'd spent 2 days in the hospital with violent nausea. The doctors couldn't pinpoint the cause, and Ellen had been all concern, insisting it must have been a bad batch. But Mark had smirked when I returned, pale and shaky, and took over my pitch to a major client, the Larson account, which I'd spent months preparing. "Try one of these chocolates, Mark," I said, pushing the basket toward him during our lunch break. He raised an eyebrow but grabbed a truffle, popping it into his mouth. "Ellen's really stepping up her game," he said, chewing. I watched him closely, sipping my water and pretending to nibble one myself. The faint chemical tang lingered in my nose from when I'd sniffed the chocolate earlier. Mark and Ellen had been oddly close lately. I'd overheard snippets of their conversations, phrases like "make sure she is out" and "the Larson pitch is ours." I'd also found a cryptic email on a shared work drive, quickly deleted, mentioning a little something to slow her down. My suspicions grew when I noticed Mark always avoided the food at team events, claiming he was on a diet. Feigning a phone call, I excused myself to the break room, leaving the basket with Mark. "Help yourself," I said sweetly. From the doorway, I watched him eat another chocolate, then another, his smug grin fading as he rubbed his temples. My phone was already recording, hidden in my pocket. I'd started documenting everything after the cupcake incident. Dates, symptoms, even photos of suspicious food. An hour later, Mark was sweating, his face pale as he gripped his desk. "Laura," he croaked, "something's wrong." Ellen rushed over, her eyes darting to the basket. "What did you eat?" she demanded, her voice sharp. Mark pointed weakly at the chocolates. You gave them to Laura." Ellen's face froze, and I caught the flicker of panic in her eyes. "Call 911, I said calmly, stepping forward. "And Ellen, maybe you can explain why your thank you gift is making Mark sick." My phone captured her stammering response. I didn't mean, it was just supposed to be for Laura, to help her relax." Mark's eyes widened, realization dawning as he clutched his stomach. Paramedics arrived, and I followed them to Seattle General Hospital, my phone still recording. In the ER, Mark was stabilized, but tests revealed traces of a sedative not meant for public use, something Ellen, with her pharmaceutical connections from a previous job, could access. I showed the ER doctor my recordings and the email I'd saved. "I've been sick before," I told her. "Same symptoms after Ellen's gifts. Can you check my medical records?" Detective Ramirez arrived, a no-nonsense woman who listened to my evidence with a grim nod. She confiscated Ellen's office computer and found purchase orders for the sedative, linked to her old colleague at a pharma lab. Mark, recovering in his hospital bed, confessed everything. "Ellen said it would just make you miss the Larson pitch," he mumbled, shamefaced. "She wanted me to get the promotion. I didn't know it was dangerous." Ellen's trial was swift. The evidence, my recordings, the email, the hospital records, was damning. She'd been dosing me for months, trying to discredit me as unreliable so Mark could take my spot. The judge sentenced her to 7 years for poisoning and conspiracy. Mark got probation for his cooperation, but was fired from Cascade. 6 months later, I stood in the boardroom presenting the Larson account's renewal to applause. I'd been promoted to senior strategist, my reputation stronger than ever. The local news ran a story about Ellen's conviction, but I didn't read it. My revenge wasn't in her downfall. It was in thriving, proving I was unstoppable despite her betrayal.